Our stories and our topics will include but are not limited to everyday issues. We're here for you, for our listeners. We want to know what's important to you.
So again, don't miss us
on WTAN Talk Radio. Tune in again, Shrink and Wrap Show.
We'll see you then.
That's the Shrink and Wrap Show every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. right here on the WTAN Talk Radio Network.
This is the WTAN Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Patsy with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. Coming to you from glorious Clearwater, Florida, the perfect place for writers to write and readers to enjoy a good book. And just before I start, I want to thank everybody for their emails asking me how I got through the hurricane. We were lucky here in our area. Everything was fine, although I did have to cancel my programs last week. But I'm happy to be back, and I am so happy that we are going to find out the story behind a really remarkable book. I'm happy to welcome back to Joy on Paper, Mary Glickman. She was here not too long ago to talk about a wonderful book that she wrote called The Rivers of Babylon. And now I have her back because I wanted to talk about this book. It's called An Undisturbed Peace. And it is so amazing. And the research that went into it, I just have to find out how she did it. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Patsy.
Wow. Well, we got through the hurricane, and while I was, what do you think I was doing during the hurricane? Reading, of course, as long as we had electricity. I thought I'm going to read everything again. And one of the books that I picked up, because I've been thinking a lot about By the Rivers of Babylon, I picked up your book, An Undisturbed Peace, and reread it. Parts of it. I didn't have to reread it all, but what I think it is such an important book, and it is about a time that most people don't know about, pre-Civil War, and the research that you went through to get this book must have been enormous. So let's start from the beginning. I'm always interested in where somebody gets an idea for a book, how it just sort of does it pop into your head. So let's start with the idea, and let's work through. And you tell us your characters are amazing. So what was a germ? I mean, what was a moment when the idea for a book set, in the 1830s?
I wish I had something dramatic to tell you, but the truth was that my agent, the brilliant Peter Riva, after I'd written 3 novels about race relations in the South throughout the 20th century, and I was saying, well, I haven't got, what shall I cover now? He said to me, Mary, I think you would be perfect to write about the Indian Removal Act. And I thought, well, that is an interesting topic. So I started researching it, and I came to really be involved, wrapped up in the subject very quickly. As far as my research goes, I did various kinds. I went to Cherokee, North Carolina, where a remnant of Cherokee have lived since the removal. And in fact, they are known as the Eastern Cherokee Tribe. I visited their community. I visited their museum. I watched their play that they have on the Trail of Tears, which is excellent. Outdoors in the mountains, it's beautiful. And while I was there, I found my primary research text. And that is the Payne Buttrick Papers, which is a contemporaneous account of Cherokee life during the period. In fact, one of the Reverend Buttrick was the author, and Mr. Payne was the editor. He went along on the Trail of Tears with the Cherokee. So it's a fascinating, bird's eye view, able to get all of the cultural details one could wish for in those works. So I found myself quite lucky to be there and find these texts.
Well, of course, you are right there, right in the area. So you're literally walking in the footsteps of Cherokees. And I think that just is inspiring in and of itself, knowing that you are there and the people who were there before you. Now, when the idea for the book, the idea of doing this, the Relocation Act. Explain what this was, because this is
what the Relocation Act was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Around the time of the American Revolution, the Cherokee tribe had owned probably 80% of Georgia and North Carolina. Let me see. Most of the states. They were the North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, West Virginia, Virginia. They controlled about 80% of the landmass. But as time went by and Americans kept wanting to settle in what they thought of as virgin land, it was really belonged to somebody else, the Cherokee, their landmass shrunk to about 20% of what it had been. And then gold was discovered in Georgia, which meant that, of course, now the United States wanted to swallow up Georgia. And Georgia and North Carolina were where most of the remnant of the Cherokee still lived, about 16,000 people. Now, eventually, Andrew Jackson decided as president, he was a very almost dictatorial type. He decided that he would remove all of the Cherokees from the area and send them off to Oklahoma and let them form a new land there. But the United States was going to own Georgia and North Carolina. And thus, this forced march of the Cherokee has been known as the Trail of Tears. Approximately 6,000 people died during it of starvation and disease. That's Cherokee alone.
When you think about it, the Cherokee, who were in an area that's lush and green, and farming was easy because everything will grow in those areas. Right. Just to imagine them arriving in Oklahoma. To tell you the truth, I can't imagine myself arriving in Oklahoma. And it breaks your heart. And of course, you managed to capture the beauty of their life and what they were, the way they lived, their beliefs. So as you're doing the research and obviously falling in love with the whole tribe. The Payne-Buttrick papers, as I say, they were instrumental because I think that there are, and there's a few other texts, but I think there's a lot of sort of New Age fantasy about Native Americans that has nothing to do with the way Native Americans lived then or now, Yeah. And it's difficult to find the accurate stuff, which is why I was so happy with these 6 volumes. And in there, you realize that the Cherokee were really remarkable, especially in terms of women's rights. Women were in control of finances. They were heiresses. They owned all the property. They were they could do whatever they wanted. They could take up with someone or not. They could get divorced easily. The children belonged to them, not the father. And in which case, often the uncle of a child might be closer to that child than their father. It was a remarkable culture. And unfortunately, with the land grab that Jackson was attempting to make, and indeed made, they got the idea, the Cherokee, that if they adopted colonial ways, the ways of the white people around them, that they would be accepted as equals and as Americans and not have to leave their land. So they actually
position of the woman declined into, the common female roles of the day in the white community. And they developed plantations and hired slaves. They bought slaves, African American slaves, and they became like white plantation owners, thinking this was going to protect them. But of course, in the end, it did not. It did nothing.
So you have three main characters that you've, the way that you have brought them together, three diverse characters, each bringing a different view to what's happening. Now, when you decided on a Cherokee, you selected a woman because, as you said, the women were strong. So tell us about, in the book, of course, Marion, she has anglicized name, but tell us was she the first character that came to mind? How did you develop her?
Actually, I think Abe, the Jewish peddler, immigrant, was my first one because his family name is a family name I've used in all of my novels. And, this was the early Sassaportas that came. I have them in the 50s and the 60s, 1950s, 60s as well. But this is the origin family. So he came first. And then I thought, well, he'll fall in love with a Cherokee woman who really isn't as interested as he would like in him. And then I thought of the Jacob, the slave that is her true love. And it just kind of fell in place after that.
So now it was very unusual when you came out with the character of Marianne that she was actually a woman who went to England.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the this quote civilization of the Cherokee, which is what the white community called it. They called them a civilized tribe because they lived like white men. Part of what they did was they would send their children to school in London. They would send them to school in Boston. They would send them, to Tony schools all over the Northeast. And then they would come back properly anglicized. It was very different from the forced education of Native American children later in American history, when the churches picked them up and took them off and cut their hair. I mean, it was different, but yet the effect was the same.
So I think it must have been the idea of taking a Cherokee woman and bringing her to London. All of the research that went around this must have been fun for you.
Oh, it was. I learned so much, and that's part of what writing an historical piece is about, is what you learn. There's always something that you're learning. Doesn't mean that you use all of the things you're learning, but, the ones you do that particularly enchant you are useful, that, there's never a boring moment. You're never, if you are an author who's working on a quote, straight modern novel, there'll be times when you don't know what to do. You don't know, well, what direction shall I go in this? And you sweat over it. And, perhaps you have a little block. That doesn't happen when you write historical novels because, okay, I don't know where it's going next. I might as well read some more research. And then suddenly the idea appears before you. It's like, for example, if you'll recall in the book, there's the rubber craze of 1830, in which rubber was first galvanized and made available for products, and the entire country went crazy for rubber. I had no idea about what that was all about or how I was going to use it, but I found a good use for it, I think. But that was just a very serendipitous kind of discovery. While I was looking up something else, I fell upon it. And that's also very helpful. Good luck is important.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes just the right footnote will take you on a path that's so exciting.
Oh, yeah.
One little sentence will say, whoa, did that happen? And then you start following that footnote, and it in itself is like an entire world.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice journey.
Well,
I'll tell you that.
Now, one of the things that when I moved to England, of course, I'm talking books. Even then, I was always looking for books, asking people their favorite authors. And I was always, one of the things that completely surprised me, was that English people knew James Fenimore Cooper. They know his books. And their idea of America is so much formed by his writing. Now, I don't know if you, in your school years, we were given James Fenimore Cooper, and we were not really, I think the way he was presented, he was not our favorite author. In England, I would have expected everyone to talk about Hemingway, but you could go to, lived in a little village, and at a tea party, I could bring up books, and little old lady who I thought would never know James Fenimore Cooper, but they do, and he was very popular in England right from the beginning. And one of the reasons I discovered later on, because I wanted to know why was he popular, he moved to Europe and he spent quite a bit of time there, so he really got to involved in events in Europe. But some of your writing, the way that you write about the land, about the environment, about everything, it is very, it does remind one of James Fenimore Cooper's writing.
Oh, I like that. I like that one.
Well,
what's interesting about when you speak of American authors of the era of the early 19th century, who were very popular in London, oddly enough, the editor of the John Payne, I think that was John Edward Payne, of the Payne-Buttrick papers, he got involved with the Cherokee because he had been an actor and a writer and had lived in London for a long time. And he wanted to develop a journal that was purely American for the European market because they were so interested. And so he discovered Reverend Buttrick along the way of trying to do that. But he also, number one, he wrote the song Home Sweet Home. And he also, while he lived in London, he was a rival for the affections of Mary Shelley with none other than Washington Irving.
Wow. Isn't it wonderful, the things you discover, isn't it?
Yes.
All of these links, all of these golden threads. So
That's right.
It is. And your writing is it's evocative. It captures everything, this sound, the smells, the flavor of the South and of that period. And let's talk a little bit about the slave. Let's talk about how he comes into the story. Jacob.
Well, dear Jacob had a sad beginning. I mean, his mother was the slave of a farmer, and it was just, I think, the three of them living together. And he was a little boy, the son of the slave master. So one day he and his mother are walking to go deliver some fruit to somebody or something. And they are beset upon by a Cherokee tribe who kidnapped them, which was common enough behavior at the time. But he was given to a woman who had a Cherokee woman who had no children. And she raised him as if he were her son. So he becomes very, very conversant in Cherokee ways and skills. And, but when it comes time, when she dies, he realizes he's still a slave. He's the property of the tribe now, and he's given away to another person, and the other person happens to be marrying the Indian princess. And she is a princess, the Native American princess. her father, who owns a white man's plantation. He's a Cherokee with a white man's plantation. So he's sold into that family, and that brings him close to Marion, and they fall madly in love. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, in your hands, it's going to be a fascinating story. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed writing it, I have to say. I did.
Well, I think that comes through. And as I said, it is so wonderful when you find a book that is about a period of time that you don't know about, and then you suddenly it opens your eyes to so many things. Of course, you combine here the three biggest, ideas here of Jews who suffer and have been sent into slavery, the Cherokees, Native Americans, or indigenous people sent into slavery, and then, of course, African Americans, blacks from Africa who are sent into slavery. So you bring all three together in such a way that's so informative and so compelling that I think when people read this, all of these ideas, there's so much to ponder, there's so much to think about, but in a way that the way that you write, it's cohesive, and it's really a fascinating story.
Well, I can tell you, I appreciate your saying that very much. I have to agree with you. and also I have to say that, that you can be assured that it was meticulously researched, and that down to the details of clothing and food and all of that, because that's what grounds. It's the common daily things, I think, that ground a historical novel in its period. The big events, people have a general idea of the big events and they expect they're coming, but it's the detail, the homely detail, you might say, that I think really anchors the story.
That's true. That's why I mentioned earlier, the sounds and the smells, you bring it all in. Well, you do that with all your writing. Your book, By the Rivers of Babylon, there we have a pitmaster who's the main character. And I tell you, when you read that book, you want to go out, you want barbecue, so the way that you bring the food in.
I think book clubs should get Babylon and have barbecue book club parties.
I agree. I think it's absolutely perfect because when you read that book, you really do want barbecue and you want the sound of banjos. And in this case, as I said, you bring in the sounds, the flavor, I love the descriptions of what people are wearing, everything. It all works so well. And it is, I think, a brilliant book, a wonderful, wonderful historical document now for people because of your thorough research. So I want to tell everyone.
Patsy, just one last thing. You must know that I have noticed over the years that this has been in publication, which is about 6 or 7 years. I think that every fall there's a little bump in my sales. Might not be huge, but it's a bump in my sales. I think schools are reading it.
Well, I hope so. Because they will learn a lot. And it is, I think, it's a book that you will read once. And as I said, during the hurricane, I was picking up different books, just going through the ones, that I thought I'd get something, look at how it was written. And this book, when I picked it up again, I thought, wow, I just have to find out how you did it. Again, I think you're fantastic, Mary. You're a wonderful writer. And the name of the book is An Undisturbed Peace. It's a novel by Mary Glickman. It's brilliant, people. You have to get it. And Mary, your website is just Mary Glickman, right? Your name?
Yep, MaryGlickman.com.
MaryGlickman.com. And the name of the book, An Undisturbed Peace. You can get it online. And again, Mary, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's always a joy to talk to you. Okay? You take care now. Okay. Bye-bye now. Bye. Okay. we're going to have a book buzz from Devon Miller. Then I'll be back in a little while with my next guest. And it's weird, but true that my next guest is not weird. She is marvelous. So let's go to the book buzz.
Hey everyone, it's Devon Miller, author and illustrator of the Mr. Tickety Tock Clock children's book series, reporting for Joy on Paper with the latest on children's book buzz. The wait is finally over. Here she is. Beloved children's entertainer Emma Watkins has unveiled herself to have transformed into Emma Memma. She's written a book in honor of the transition called Hello, Emma Memma. The book was illustrated by Carrie Hess. Hello, Emma Memma brings readers into a colorful world with pink painted leaves and a gum blossom tree. A friend ready to play games, Emma Memma is her name. Not only is Emma Watkins an author, but she's a passionate advocate for the deaf community. She has studied sign language, completed her diploma of Auslan, and is completing a diploma in interpreting at Deaf Connect, as well as her PhD at Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia. I hope you all are ready to read this book because Emma Memma is ready to play with you. This is Devon Miller reporting for Joy on Paper. For more book buzz involving children's books and authors, head on over to radio-joyonpaper.com and click on Devon Miller's Book Buzzes. I think it's about time that I buzz out now.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Have you ever faced disaster? The Red Cross is always there for you. The Red Cross responds to a call for help every 8 seconds. They have never turned anyone down. Now they need your financial support so that they can be ready to help you when the need arises. Donate online at redcross.org. Thank you.
Are you an author, an artist, an inventor? Then you need to protect your valuable intellectual property. You need Larson & Larson. We have the experience and knowledge to help you with all of your legal needs, from processing trademark, copyright, or patent applications to negotiating licensing agreements and handling litigation. The attorneys at Larson & Larson in Largo, Florida can help protect you. Call us today for a no-cost consultation at 727-546-0660 or visit our website at larsonpatentlaw.com.
Do you dread being called on to speak at meetings or family functions? Have you envied those who can sway an audience with well-chosen words? Do you know that people who speak well earn more money, earn more rewarding careers? Gain the confidence to master any speaking situation. Toastmasters will allow you to find your voice. Go to toastmasters.org to locate the club nearest you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Patsy with a Z, and I am back with my next guest. I am so happy to welcome Catherine Williams to Joy on Paper again. And Catherine, this book is amazing. It is called Weird But True World 2024. Incredible facts, awesome photos, and weird wonders for this year and beyond. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Wow. This book, every time I get a Nat Geo book, I always say, this is the greatest book. But I'm not sure if I'm going to have to say that, because this is really the greatest book. I love this book. I'm crazy about this book. It is so beautiful. It is so big and beautiful and beautiful. And, of course, whenever I have a Nat Geo book in my hand, that yellow border sends me into a thrill zone, because it was my childhood joy to always read Nat Geo magazines. And this one, you went bonkers on this book.
I love to hear that. We did. Weird But True World 2023 last year, and this is the second edition of this book. It's a book of weird and wonderful things from all around the world. We cover every continent, the ocean, and space. And I thought when we did the first one, because it's a huge book and it's full of awesome stuff, that there was no way we were going to be able to make another one as good. But I actually think this this edition is even better than the first.
Oh, it is. I mean, as I said, how can I keep doing this? It's just so good. I get such a thrill. I could go through this book over and over, and I have. And of course, we have beautiful photography, but some of it is like, it's so incredible. I can't believe it. It's like, is it real? Is it real? The photos are so perfect. I don't know where to start. I want to start with one that really grabbed me, Laguna Garzon Bridge. I thought this bridge in Uruguay is so smart. This is the one that's done in like a circle. And I thought, why hasn't anybody done this bridge? I would love to drive on this bridge.
That's so this bridge is part of a selection we have in our South America chapter on weird roads and weird cars and weird rides. So this bridge is a perfect circle that goes over a body of water in Uruguay.
And the design is so clever. If you can make something beautiful, something that's everyday, but turn it into something beautiful so easily. I would never have thought of this, but now that I see this, I'm hoping that across the world people will say, well, just turning the bridge into a circle. And of course, it was done partly to reduce the impact of the construction, to make it, a better environmentally designed, use. But it's so cute that I'm sure everybody who drives on this bridge will get a smile on their face.
Yeah, there's another bridge also we have in the book in the Asia section, which is far away from the South American part of the book. But that's a bridge that's a golden bridge that's being held up by a giant hand sculpture. So we have another very different bridge, but a good example of the ways that people take kind of ordinary things around the world, bridges, roads, and they make them weird and they make them really special. And I think, people all over the world seem to be just doing things just to make life a little more fun, make it a little more beautiful.
Well, that is one of the wonderful things when you have people who are not just looking for function, but looking also just to make something look nice. It's like the Eiffel Tower. They planned to rip that thing down. They just put it up. They put it up for an exposition, and they were just going to rip it down afterwards. Wow, can you imagine that?
No.
But then you have clever people who do that. And then, of course, you have nature that does some really wild things. There's one picture in here that I've looked at it maybe a dozen times, and I keep saying it's fake. Now, I know National Geographic photographers don't submit fake photos, but this one is so strange. And this is called Rainbow Mountain in Vinicunca, is it? This Rainbow Mountain, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I think it's kind of neat that this book is completely illustrated by photos. So they're all real, but there are some photos in the book that I had to fact check, double check, because they do look so stunning. And it's hard to describe to listeners. You really need to see the photo of it, but. In Peru, there's this rainbow mountain that is just covered in these stripes of yellow and red, and it just looks like a painting. But it does.
It looks like the kind of drawing a very talented kid would do. If you say, well, here's a box of Crayolas, draw a mountain, and the layers, each a different color. I want to go to Peru just to. I want to check out your National Geographic photographer.
I know. I wish they would send me. They've never sent me to Peru, but it would be nice.
Yeah, well, you are like one of the main super duper editors there. So then there's another one that also looks like, again, a children's drawing. And this is the one in Namib, I'll say it. It's anyway. It's a national park in Namibia. This one is of a sand dune, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it is another one that looks like it could be a painting, but it's actually a photo. And this is a giant sand dune in the desert in Namibia, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing.
It's almost, the largest one is almost 300 feet tall, and so it just looks like you're looking up at this big orange wall instead of a sand dune.
Wow, it's so wonderful. I love this book. I just love this book. And when you get to, as an editor, they bring all these photos to you and they say, "Whoa, let's which ones are we going to use?" It's quite a job.
Yeah, so part of my job is to kind of like we talked about, make sure there's a good mix of human things humans have made, festivals, but also a lot of natural wonders and animals and things like that. So I'm trying to keep a balance and also make sure that everything really does feel weird and different.
It does. Like Twin Town. I thought that one was great.
Yeah, that one is special to me because I'm a twin myself. And this is a town in Africa that has the highest population of twins in the world. And it's kind of an odd thing that people don't really know why. It's in Nigeria, why this town has so many twins in it, but they have a festival of twins too, where twins can come and celebrate being twins.
Well, so when you were, you're a twin, did you used to play? I've always wanted to know, do twins really play tricks on people?
Well, my brother and I, so we're not identical, so we couldn't do that, but we did pretend like we could read each other's mind.
Well, maybe you can. On that same page is this loudest insect, which, again, for photography, you cannot beat Nat Geo. This insect, a sub-Saharan Africa insect, is so strange looking.
Yeah. So this is a thorn tree cicada, and it is as loud as a rock concert. It's hard to imagine that there's a cicada louder than the ones we have in North America, but this one is the record holder.
Well, it's just like, so, you had so much fun going through this. So what are some of your favorite ones?
One of my favorites, I have so many. I really love the weird sports section we have in the European chapter. So one of the weird sports we feature is extreme ironing by way of the United Kingdom. And it's a competition where people iron clothes in as weird places as they can think of. So we have a photo of someone with an ironing board and an iron set up underwater, and they're in a scuba suit. But they also have people who bungee jump ironing and iron on mountains and all kinds of weird places. So I think that one's really fun and silly. And then on the same page, we have pumpkin paddling. So there's a photo of a woman that's inside this giant pumpkin that's been hollowed out, and she's paddling in a river, racing like she's in a kayak, but it's a giant pumpkin. So I really love those because they're so silly and wacky, and the photos are awesome.
Well, I love that one. When I was raised in northern Michigan, and we sometimes would have these, we would try to grow, the kids would try to grow large pumpkins, and we would have like little contests who got the largest one. And I remember one year when my little brother was born, we did put him in a pumpkin. So yeah, I love that one. I thought that just reminded me of him.
That's so cute. I would love to sit inside of a giant pumpkin.
And we still call him Pumpkin.
Oh, that's funny. One thing happens in your life, and then you're set forever.
Yeah, for the rest of your life, and it just continued on. Yeah, and we'd have to have a pretty big pumpkin for him today, but it's a fond memory. But that picture of, and I think they do grow so big. It's sometimes amazing when you see, one of these pumpkins. You can't believe, it's on a 18-wheeler truck.
Yeah, they're huge. It's very cool to see these pumpkins, and there's the pumpkin paddling is that we featured. It takes place in Germany, but they also have like a whole pumpkin festival for these giant pumpkins.
Now, of course, when you go through different areas of the world, African plants. That I love that one because I'm always interested in plants, and I love wild Madagascar. I've always wanted to go there, and I love all the animals there. Really strange ones, particularly that giraffe-necked weevil.
Oh yeah, I also love the Madagascar. I love all the animals, and Madagascar has particularly wonderful ones. But yeah, the giraffe-necked weevil. So I don't know. Listeners know what a weevil looks like on their own, but it's this little bug, and this giraffe-necked weevil, has a really long neck, just like a giraffe. It's well named, and it's a very bizarre creature, and we have it labeled as weirdly cute. We have throughout the book animals that are kind of you wouldn't think they're cute, but we've decided they're weirdly cute. So the giraffe.
It is weirdly cute, but it would scare you to death.
Yes, it might be weird to see out in the world what this strange creature is, because it really doesn't look like any bug that I see regularly.
No, definitely. If you were having a picnic, and suddenly this weevil came along, it freaked me out.
Yeah, I hear that. I think I have no idea. Now I know what it is, so I would be able to tell everyone, don't worry, that's a giraffe-necked weevil.
Yeah. One of the ones I love, this Muju Firefly Festival.
Yeah. So the Firefly Festival takes place in South Korea, I believe, and celebrating the fireflies of the area, which for whatever reason they really thrive there. There's the right conditions and the environment for fireflies.
Again, I mean it's a photo. I have to keep telling myself that's a photo of real fireflies. I love that. I love that one. When you and the monkey buffet is also pretty great.
Yeah. So this is kind of a clever spread on animal related things in Asia. So we have the festival, a food festival, and we have a picture in Thailand, and we have a picture of monkeys having a banquet at a temple. And then on the same page, we have these giant dinosaur sculptures in China where the dinosaurs are look like they're kissing.
And one of the ones I really love is breathtaking builds. The buildings that are shaped. I've always wanted, like, if I had money to have an extra house, I would do something like that. I was going to do a tree house like in Tarzan, but some of these, I think I want that pot house, that teapot house.
Yeah, there's some really fun houses in here that people live in. One is shaped like a pineapple, so you can live like SpongeBob. There's all kinds of things people are building. Their weird houses. I can give you a sneak peek of, we're actually working on the third book now. And one thing that we're featuring in that one is someone building their house totally out of garbage. And then tourists come and they add garbage to this garbage house. And it looks like a piece of art.
Well, good way to recycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you were, when you go through all the photos that they have, this must be so much fun for you.
It is fun. It's fun to, so I work on this one. It's just a list of things and words, and I go through and I work with writers to approve everything and decide if it's weird, but it really comes together when I get to see what our photo researchers and photographers find, and it's so exciting to see them for real.
Well, like body parts, that section is quite it's an eye opener.
Yeah. So there's I believe, is that in Asia, correct?
Yeah, the church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a building that's shaped like a high heel shoe. I think that's the same place where the hand is holding up the bridge. So we have this section on body parts, and it's all these giant things that people have built that are shaped like different body parts or shoes and things like that.
Oh, it's amazing. I think that the giant glass slipper church, and that's in Taiwan, I think it's amazing. I think it's really cool. I would like that one. I used to love high heels. I used to wear spike heels all the time. I had dozens, and I wasn't as bad as Imelda Marcos, but I did have dozens of pairs of spike heels, and I think I'd like that one. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would look. If it was a bit smaller, it would be pretty cool to wear. But it's a very cool building. It's made out of these with 300 glass panels, so the whole thing is glass. It kind of looks like a Cinderella.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Now, one of the things, of course, I love about Nat Geo books, I love all the quizzes and all of the maps and everything like that. And you have a lot of great quiz whiz stuff in here.
Yeah, so we have in every chapter we have a quiz where kids can test their knowledge of what they've read in the chapter. We also have personality quizzes that are just for fun. So you answer all these questions, and it'll tell you, what a fun day out would be in that particular area for you. So those were really fun to make. We have a lot of little bits of things, facts that pop out, and then we also have maps, really kid-friendly maps of every continent with weird places marked on every map, and they're really fun and easy to read. So you can see every country that you're going to read about in the chapter.
Well, it is a marvelous, marvelous book. It's so beautiful, and it is something that will give people hours and hours of pleasure. I mean, many hours, because you will pick this book up over and over again because you never get tired of looking at, you never get tired of looking at the photographs. And there is this one. I mean, I would love to know how this photographer got this picture. And it is the bird of paradise in New Guinea. And it doesn't look real. How does it and I mean, it is nature is so fantastic. And that's one of the joys of National Geographic. For over 100 years, you guys have been bringing us these wonderful, wonderful stories, wonderful photographs that just fill our lives and our minds with joy. I admire Nat Geo so much for all the work that you've done and all the people that you've inspired over the years. People who, and especially with kids, and it happened with me. I was inspired to move from northern Michigan and out of the blue and telling my parents, I'm moving to England. I mean, they thought it was crazy, but that was all because of a Nat Geo book. And I was 11 years old, and I did it when I was 21 years old. I saved up enough money. I moved to England. Wow. Nat Geo inspires people. And this book, I hope that everybody will get this book. If you have a kid in your life, get this book. Even if you don't have a kid in your life, get this book. If you have a senior in your life who's in a senior's home, get this book. Every senior would love this book. It will, again, give hours and hours of joy. And as I always tell people, if you don't have a child in your life, buy a Nat Geo kids book and send it to a hospital, because the kids in hospitals need books. So again, Catherine, I think you are amazing. You have found a job that is just gives you so much joy.
I do. It's wonderful, and I love hearing that when National Geographic has influenced people's lives. I love hearing that. I love hearing from our readers, and yeah.
Well, I'm just, again, my love to all of you, everyone over at Nat Geo, and to all the photographers. And I get such a kick out of them. And I love to think of the day that, they're given an assignment and somebody says to them, go to New Guinea and get a picture. Yeah, I think, oh my goodness, that's my job. Kids out there, grow up to work for Nat Geo, either as an editor, as a writer, as somebody who writes quizzes, or as a photographer, because you will have fun every day of your life.
We sure do.
Again, Catherine Williams, thank you so much for being on Joy on Paper. You brought joy to me, and I will have hours of fun with this book. And everybody, really, get this book. Nat Geo books are priced so that you can afford them. And they are, I will tell you one thing, you will never see a Nat Geo book in a garage sale. People hold on to them. They become books that you save and save and save. And as I always say, also turn them into yearbook style and have your friends and family write little notes at the front of the book. And it becomes a family heirloom.
Yeah.
Okay. So bye-bye. And I'll have you back soon. Okay.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye now, Catherine. Bye. Fantastic. You have to get this book. I'm telling you. Just every adult, I think everybody in America, you would feel so much better. And there's something about this, all their books, but particularly this book, because you see the photographs and you say to yourself, nature is so fantastic. We should protect it. We should think about it. We should live our lives, and we should do exciting things and go to some of these places. Go to New Guinea and see some of these animals. Travel around, live your life, get off of those devices and get off of your Twitter and all of those other X's and Instagrams and all of that. Get off of all of that stuff and live and just find the joy. And you be inspired by a Nat Geo book. And this one is called Weird But True World 2024. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, a brilliant book. I love it. Anyway, everybody, remember what I always tell you. One of the joys of life is to see your words on paper or to hear them in an audible book. Or if you're very, very lucky to hear those magic words, your book will be turned into a major motion picture, streaming video, or perhaps a series on the Hallmark Channel. You never know, and you won't know unless you start trying. So start writing, and maybe you'll be here on Joy on Paper pretty soon. Everybody, bye-bye now. Oh, I will say something nice to Big Ed in the control room. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for everything. And he got everything organized for me today. And say something nice to somebody else today. And he saluted me. I saluted him. I'm out of here. Okay. Bye-bye now.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
.com.
I'm Steve Kathan. New evidence for authorities in eastern Pennsylvania as they hunt for a convicted killer who escaped from prison last week. State Police Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens says there are trail camera images from last night showing Donnell